How to find a good therapist near me. What makes a good therapist? And how do you find one?
I'd like to know. We're
going to show you right now. I want to know. It's Tarzan. Can you show me? Mended Light logo.
I'm Alicia Decker, co-founder of Mended Light.
And I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist. And with us today is Tiffany Berg, who is a chaplain extraordinaire. You've helped so many people. I actually was thinking of becoming a chaplain at one point.
It's a beautiful career. It's an incredible education.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of overlap between what you do and I do because it's all counseling. But did you have to do basic training or anything like that to become a chaplain? Or
a lot of people connect it to the military, which there are chaplains in the military, but there's also chaplains at Tyson Food. What we're recognizing is that chaplains, the training for a chaplain helps people come to closure with their distress. Mm-hmm. And so that might be in a workplace, it might be in a hospital, it might be on the battlefield. And so, social workers have resources, counselors have this background and education in helping people come to understanding of what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And chaplains are really about spiritual distress.
So what I define spirituality is your connection to something greater than yourself. Because we can get lost in dogmas or religions or different creeds, because what you do has a very broad scope. It's not just why I only work with, evangelical Christians, for example. So how do you, and this is going to speak to our broader subject because there's a whole bevy of types of counselors, types of therapists. So we're going to talk about what makes them good, how to know which kind specifically you should be seeking out. But I just want to pick your brain a second more about spirituality and chaplaincy. Is that a word?
It is.
Yes.
It is. Yes.
You did it.
I nailed it.
So people have distress, especially when it comes to mortality. How they recognize mortality, how they honor mortality, how they honor the sacred, what they believe as far as being enough in regard to that sacred, what their moral compass is, and if they've gotten off course from that. And it is bigger than religion. Many times when people are moving through struggles, they're reevaluating religion, they're reevaluating the rules that they've lived by, what they think is true. And a chaplain isn't there to say, hey, this is the right way. A chaplain is there to say, I'm in the lake with you.
Yeah.
And I want to listen to what your distress is. Tell me your pain. Tell me what's happened to you. And then asking a certain discipline of questions that assist that person in coming to peace, not closure, but peace with that distress.
Yeah. Wow. That's powerful. Well, and I look at that as we all need to live aligned with our moral compass. And sometimes our moral compass evolves as we get new information, have new experiences. But if we have a set of values and we're not walking up to them, we experience cognitive dissonance. We experience that distress, that emotional distress that comes with that. And so I think that's beautiful in what you do. Mm-hmm. I think if we had a Venn diagram, you and I would be fairly synced up. Even though I'm a marriage and family therapist. So let's talk for people watching at home. And you've shared before. You've gone to therapy. You've done couples counseling, and not with me. Maybe we should. But you've done couples counseling. You've done some therapy and knowing what's a good fit, what's a good therapist for you versus what's not. So first of all, a question for you both, what do you think makes a good therapist?
Well, it's worthwhile to note that there are different disciplines in counseling, right? You have your professional counselor, you have your marriage and family therapist, you have your social worker, you have your chaplain.
Psychologist, psychiatrist, yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And they are all, their expertise is in something all a little bit different.
Yeah.
And to the average person, you just don't know that. And so knowing what your needs are, if mental health struggles are your biggest challenge, a psychologist or a psychiatrist is going to be the best fit for you. If it's, conflict in your marriage, you're looking typically for a marriage and family therapist, unless you have someone who has gotten a degree in something else and then specialized in marriage and family therapy.
Right. If you need to be connected to community resources while getting counseling, you're looking for a social worker.
Correct. Yeah. And so knowing the difference, like being clear on what your needs are, and then knowing the different people who serve that and asking them, if they specialize in that area, what is their experience? How long have they been doing that?
If you're looking for meaning, you might want a chaplain.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, finding a good fit that personality wise, someone that's going to understand you, your needs, and someone you feel comfortable talking with.
A couple of things that I watch for. I love that you brought up there are so many different disciplines, right? And I believe people need a combination. So, for example, you may need to be working with someone in the medical field for medication that would help balance things. You may need addiction recovery groups if that's part of the dilemma. So you may need some physical healing with some of the different modalities in combination. As you're shifting, your body also has to shift. So I always think it's kind of like cross training. Like one person cannot fix you.
Yeah.
They will be good.
It takes a village.
It takes a village of counselors. So just recognize.
So how do you find a good counselor? No, you need an army.
Well, you need a team. Okay.
Yes.
You need a team.
And that team doesn't all have to be clinical. I mean, all joking aside, because
Absolutely.
as we're all saying this, I'm thinking if I'm watching this at home, this is starting to feel overwhelming of all the choices. Kind of like if you go to 31 Flavors and you're there for 2 hours, just like
I can't choose.
And when you talk about it takes a team, sometimes that could be a clinical team. Sometimes a lot of what I do, I'm the clinical side, and then the family or is the rest of the team. I'm like, I see this person once a week for an hour. You're with them every day. And so you're the team that's got their back. You're the team that's there to remember when we were in counseling, we talked about this is something we can do, and that they're the ones to remind us. So it does take a community, but that community can take different forms.
Absolutely. I love that you bring that up. We see that often with eating disorders. People go to a clinic and they feel like they've gotten a handle on the eating disorder, but then they still have to go home.
Yeah.
And so what has changed in the home, right? So it does take everyone participating. It does take a lot of personalities and a lot of modalities. And sometimes people get overwhelmed with that, but the goal is to start.
Yeah.
To choose a starting place and also raise your hand and say, I need some support.
Yeah.
Not that I'm broken, I need fixing, but I'm ready and I need some support. And then choosing someone. I think sometimes people do that wrong. And if I could just address that.
Do it wrong how? That's interesting.
I think
how do we F it up?
Yes. Because here's the struggle with doing it wrong.
Okay.
You can spend a lot of time and not get the healing that you want. And that just makes it harder.
Yeah.
So really looking at, okay, what is the return on investment? What do I want out of this? And then asking, not necessarily asking like your insurance, who's in my network, whose office is close to me, especially with the internet, you could be working with anyone. But asking other people and saying, are you seeing a mentor or a counselor or a helper? And what is the result that you're getting?
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of, therapists have their websites. I often refer people to Psychology Today where they can find a therapist based on geography or based on where they live. And then they go into, here's the area of specialty, who takes my insurance. But then you still peruse the profiles, watch their videos. And I tell people, therapists are like shoes. Like, don't be afraid to try them on and put them back on the shelf. Where counselors are like, because you got to...
Any therapeutic modality, try it on.
Yeah.
The modality...
and if it doesn't fit, modality, the person.
And the person. I subscribe very much to, you've probably heard Dr. Irwin Yalom, and he says, it's the relationship that heals. Yes. That the modalities are fine, the techniques are fine. But if I mastered all that, but I can't connect with the person in front of me, then I'm not going to be able to help them with the healing. And some people you talk about, it takes a team. For some people, they do quite well with them and their counselor. But we're relationship-based people. We're connection-based people. And if I know people who I am their only lifeline, and it is so much harder. And I'll be frank, I'm only good at a couple things. Alicia knows this. There's like 2 or 3 things that I'm really good at, and then the rest is like, ugh. I'm very good at this. And so I don't say that boastingly, because I think we all have a couple things we're really good at, and then a bunch of stuff we're not. Except Alicia is good at almost everything.
She is.
She really is. But I can hit someone with everything I've got, and my skill in therapy is considerable. And if they don't have it, but if I'm it is so much harder than. Yeah. And then sometimes it's like, well, I can't get it at home. I can't get it from my parents. I can't get it from my partner. But we can always create a family. We can always create. And sometimes we got to go to groups for that. Sometimes we go to church for that. Sometimes there's always people. And sometimes, honestly, for some people, they game. They play video games online, and then they talk to people while they're gaming. And we're very creative in how we create our tribes, you know? Absolutely.
Well, and I love that you talk about relationship, because that is key.
Yeah.
You know, each one of us has 10% of our life experience, or the traumas that we've had, the hurts, the wounds, 10% of that we never share. We never share it.
Yeah.
For a lot of different reasons. But if you can find safety with a counselor or a business coach, or it is that safety, it is that relationship that then helps you reframe that 10%.
Yeah.
And you can feel whole. And that's key. And I think sometimes people are more focused on how much is it costing me per hour? And you think, oh my goodness.
And that's not the focus.
That's not the focus. You could spend years with someone because you're paying them less per hour, and yet
not get the results.
Yeah, how rich could your life be if you felt heard?
Yeah.
It's powerful.
And it could be a few months. If with the right person.
So
Absolutely.
Shifting the focus from what's the cost, or, what's my insurance going to pay for, to where am I seen, where am I heard, where am I understood, or what environment gives me that growth to be seen, to be heard, to be understood.
Jen Sincero, she's the author of You're a Badass.
Yeah.
She says, having the right business coach, they can tell you in 28 minutes what you will struggle with for 28 years.
Yeah.
So finding that right person, and also understanding that the right person is going to want to work their way out of a job with you.
It's true.
They want you to fly.
Clients tell me sometimes, I don't think we need you anymore. And they go, I'm so sorry. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is what I wanted. Like, this was the whole... And absolutely. And you want somebody, when we talk about this, the relationship that heals, it's not just, are they compassionate, understanding, empathetic? We seek those things because those things feel good when we receive them from somebody. But we also need someone who's going to push us. I mean, counseling is by nature an uncomfortable process. And I tell people sometimes we'll have sessions that I know were good, I know were helpful, but they are leaving either upset or feeling exhausted or sad. And I tell them, if you are looking inside yourself for how to change and grow, or how to heal, or you're exploring the dark places that you'd rather avoid, it's going to be unpleasant. Yes. Or if you're seeing somebody whose part of their job is to hold the mirror up and say, this is what you're doing to your life. Because most people will say, well, it's circumstances or it's other people. And when you say, well, you have a big hand in what's going on in your life right now, it's not a pleasant experience, but the outcome is very pleasant.
Absolutely. And that's the ROI. If you're really ready and you're saying, I want growth, I want healing.
Yeah.
Just like healing any physical wounds, it's going to be a little painful to get to that healed place.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful thing to live life completely free and open and awake. And the cost of spending years counseling with the wrong person, it doesn't compute.
Yeah. We want to thank you for joining us. You got a great brain. You got wonderful experiences and a big heart. We want to direct all of you at home to tiffanyberg.com to learn more about Tiffany, what she does, and what resources she has available for you. We also want to direct you to this other video which we have, which is trauma and sexual abuse, which you can watch right here. And if you enjoy what we're doing here, like, subscribe, click the bell so you always get notifications. Please share this with others. That's the biggest gift you can give to us.
And remember to keep shining. We need your light. If you or someone you love needs support in healing from sexual trauma, check out this next video.